Hi, this is Kina Kim with PivotalDiscovery.com. Today we're here at ILTA09 with Ronda Raymond, who is the VP of eDiscovery Solutions at Orange Legal Technologies, and Rob Robinson, who's the VP of Marketing. And they're going to talk about the cloud. What is it? What are the challenges? And what are the opportunities of going into the cloud? Thank you so much for joining us. Rhonda?
Thank you. So what Rob and I were talking about, based on some conversations that we've had here at ILTA and some of the sessions that we've attended, is really asking, how would you characterize cloud computing versus some of the other models that are available today that I think people are more familiar with. So, one of the things that I think people commonly understand and are aware of is something like a SaaS model, software as a service. But Rob and I were talking about there are maybe 3 different ways we can categorize it, and then I'll quickly mention some areas where I think there are some distinctions, some advantages, and then probably from the legal community specifically what some of the concerns are.
No, this morning I had attended a session by Kevin O'Keefe and David Hobbs, and it was on Enterprise 2.0. And one of the questions came up, what is cloud computing? And I was sitting back thinking, well, how would I answer that? Because cloud computing is much like the term internet back in 1995-96. People have an idea what it is, but the ability to put it within context may or may not be difficult. What they shared was you can kind of think of it as a software as a service capability, a platform as a service capability, and an infrastructure as a service capability. And kind of by using those 3 differentiations and understanding some of the differences, which may, i.e., with the software as a service model, many of us equate it to the ASP or application service provider used back in 2000, is what you a lot of times see in the e-discovery environment. You see that in e-discovery. In fact, the company that we work for offers a software as a service solution. We host the solution, we provide access to that, we provide security, but a lot of the setup, a lot of the decisions after discussions with our clients are implemented on our side at the server. In changing that, there may be a platform as a service model, which would allow for more interaction directly from a client with the application itself, to the point of potential customization and such of that nature.
Or full control.
Absolutely.
From an administrative standpoint. Mm-hmm. So where our application, for example, would be considered, I think, in real true cloud computing standpoint, would be that clients would not only access the review portion of it to conduct reviews, but they would also be able to access all of the processing themselves, all of the case administration, and they would be able to act as almost super administrators of the system. And so I think where you really get into what I consider to be more true cloud computing capabilities, where the users have really total control almost to the platform level of the software itself, as opposed to not just a service and teams that are supporting them in a hosted environment.
Do you think that's a big difference in terms of advantages for a small versus a large firm or corporation?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think we're all used to having to pay money for licensing of enterprise solutions, where that's software that's purchased and is hosted, at a firm, for example, behind their firewall. And some of the, the advantages are, in the past have been control. Well, now via cloud computing, you can have control, but it can be outside of your firewall. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have all of the same type of storage infrastructure that is can be taken care of by a company such as ours, for example, or other companies. So they don't need to invest so much in the storage and the capacity. And another big issue is, I think that as software changes, it allows them to be a lot more nimble and utilize the software that is right for the project. So they're not committed to a single platform because they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases on an enterprise version of a software application. So it gives them a lot more flexibility in terms of, as technology is it's changing now. I mean, in our industry, it didn't change for the longest time. And now, it's really rapidly changing in such a way that it may not make sense to be committed to only one solution.
Right.
No, that makes perfect sense, and if you translate that into some of the economic benefits of it, I mean, I think there's two sides to that. First of all, there's the direct savings potentially to a client. Why? They don't have to invest in the hardware. They don't have to invest in the software. They don't have to invest their internal resources on management, i.e. updates and things like that. So that's an opportunity cost where those resources can be applied somewhere else. And I think also as the acumen, the understanding of cloud computing becomes more baked into the IT thought, baked into a law firm's technology thought, we're going to see an evolution of things from SaaS to platform to infrastructure as a service. Why? Because users will become more familiar. They'll develop from that familiarity a greater understanding, and they will start wanting to solve the problems, the challenges, the dealing with issues in the applications themselves, as opposed to like right now in the early inception of SaaS, that expertise may be lying primarily with a vendor or somebody providing that service.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest obstacles at this point in our industry, because we tend to be such a risk-adverse industry, and when you're dealing with client data, there are a lot of legitimate concerns there. But I think really security and knowing that data is not able to be accessed by anyone else, and how you go about enabling those types of security controls are really going to be one of the big issues that clients are going to be asking a lot of questions with as we go forward. Because I think when we currently are managing the client data, we have all types of internal controls that allow us to make sure that data is segregated from all of the other client data. And there's no way for one client to access another client's data inadvertently. But when you allow the clients to have that type of control, and depending on whether you're dedicating servers and you have some type of horizontal scaling model, or whether you're doing some type of virtualization, I think it becomes a more interesting question.
Great.
Oh, and with that, Rhonda's talked a little bit about control, and I shared a little bit about the economic piece of it.
Yeah.
I think there's an additional piece to it, that there's some benefits with the SaaS model, and that's speed. One example is we had a major corporation that selected us as a primary provider of services on the sheer fact that they had provided us 100 gigs of information on day one. And on day two, we were able to make that available for them for review by their lawyers online. And, it's a function of the capability and the technology. It's, not that we have some, fantastic ability to do things that other companies can't do, but it's a technology decision, a technology discussion, and that technology does enable us to deliver and allow SaaS vendors to deliver things in a quicker manner, just based on function on the way it's delivered.
A final question. A lot of companies and firms are concerned about retention by going into the cloud. Can you address that?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's really any issue with that in a cloud computing, from a cloud computing standpoint. I mean, it's all about protocols and setting up the time frame by which the client wants to have that data stored, and then there are ways in which you can deactivate the data so that it's not necessarily online immediately, but it can be brought back online at any point. All the same type of storage options are available in that type of an environment as they are now in a SaaS model, for example. So I think that those are all options that can be customized. You can find very cost-effective ways to store data and then bring it back whenever they need it. But I really think that that's pretty easily handled.
Great. Well, thank you both for joining us today. Rhonda, Rob?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.